DK
Golfcast.
presented by Bones Brothers Media.
That was an enjoyable weekend of golf we just had this past. Couple of sweats, literally 100 degrees every day down there in Memphis. Couple of literal sweats on the course for those guys trying to get into the top 50. Couple of sweats on the cell phone, always a good thing. Scotty Scheffler in a runaway. And, we were talking last week how it hasn't been a bad season for Scotty, but he just needed to get that win. He did it in a big way. 17 under par, 8 clear of the field. Just a ton of birdie looks from the guys this week, though. Some spectacular shots, some big misses, albeit. Made for a great weekend of golf and set the stage for another great weekend as the top 50 set to tee it up in the PGA BMW event. Welcome into the program. It is the Bones Brothers Golf Show. My name is Edge. Thanks so much for listening. Wearing my brand new 3M hoodie shirt. Compliments of Wolf Goat. Sent it to me in the mail. Of course, he was up there for the World Series. Took home 16 grand. It is friggin' awesome, this shirt. Perfect fit. I actually wore it to the trivia show last night in Buckhannon, West Virginia. Not known to be the Mecca golf capital of the world. But a lot of people complimented me on it. Loved the look. And it was a great conversation piece also. We talked a little bit of golf with some trivia players down there. Always appreciated. Thank you, Wolf Goat. It's a perfect fit. And it's brought a great measure of joy back into my life, as Wildman does each and every Tuesday that we talk in St. Pete. I know it gets hot there in St. Pete. It was over 100 degrees and pretty darn humid in Memphis every day this past week. Would you have held up in that heat, Wildman?
I would have held up, but I was in another proverbial heat this past weekend that I didn't hold up too very well in. Out with some of the boys all weekend, so I'm still feeling it, man. Temperature doesn't get me, but get pedal down does.
You got to get your rest on those boys' weekend, especially when you're at the lake, hammering those light beers and hanging out in the sunshine on the lake. It'll get to you for sure. Second round of the FedEx descends upon St. Louis this weekend at the BMW Bellerive Country Club. It's only a 50-man field. It's a no-cut event. Top 30 make it into next week. And there are already 22 spots in that top 30 spoken for, no matter what. They've already secured their spot in the top 30, no matter the outcome this weekend. It's a par 70, almost 7,500 yards, bent grass greens, a Zoya rough, 11 holes affected by water. And we saw this past week at the St. Jude how water, you can get guys that rinse balls, tight fairways. So it's a pretty relatively similar setup to what we had last week, Wildman. But because of the length, we not only need accuracy this week, we need bombers down the fairway, and we really need bombers with our approach shots here too. That's hard to say with a PGA Tour Pro. They're going to have a 7 or 6 iron in their hands, but you're going to see a lot of 180, 190, 200-yard approach shots here as well because of the length. So give us a little preview of the course and what kind of golf build are we going for this week?
Yeah, you nailed a lot of the big points on it with your monologue there, but it is a par 70. The members play this as a 72. They've taken 2 of the par 5s, made them par 4s, which is why you see that kind of length. That's a really long par 70, pushing 7,500 yards. This is the longest test on the PGA Tour when it comes to par 70s outside of the U.S. Open. So massive premium on driving accuracy as well as length this week, which wasn't necessarily the case last week. I will say that TPC Southwind that hosted this past week does lead the PGA Tour in water balls, so wasn't that out of the ordinary to see a lot of guys rinsing it. And with no cut, you can kind of let it rip on Thursday and Friday. Same's going to go for this week. So we're definitely going to be targeting the guys that hit it further off the tee and just hope that they can back that up with some long iron play. Most of these guys can hit great iron shots from 190 to 200 plus. So, you kind of hope that there's not that much differentiation there as there will be with length off the tee.
We had a pretty good take on Scotty last week as we open up the top tier with the top tier players. We had a pretty good take on him last week. We thought it was a good spot for him, and boy, was it ever. As we said at the top of the show, he shot 17 under par. He's coming in this week, though, at 14,400. That is a hefty, hefty price tag, even for the world's number one. Rory McIlroy, who's the second highest seeded salary here at 11,400. He is 3,000 below Scotty Scheffler. Tommy Fleetwood, who had some fleeting moments in the St. Jude last week, but missed a couple of short putts, got a little squirrely off the tee there on Saturday and Sunday. I think a nice sleeper this week is Xander at 9,900, maybe the spot to build your lineup around. Cam Young at 94, who can also blast the ball. Matt Fitzpatrick at 93, who was up and down this past week at the St. Jude. So all studs in the top six. Are you going to start a build around any of those guys, Wild Man? Any of them sticking out to you?
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, I haven't seen Scheffler's to win odds quite yet, but they've got to be the lowest of all time. His gap right now in the official world golf ranking from McIlroy is larger than from McIlroy to the third place guy. And so, like, he is way far out in front in terms of the OWGR. And let's be honest. I mean, we were betting him top American there for a while, and he kept coming through with seconds and thirds. I think he has 7 runner-ups this year, or 5 runner-ups. So it'd be hard pressed to not think that he, A, is going to win, B, is going to be the top DraftKings scorer. And so in a no-cut event, sure, yeah, you got to put some Scotty combos in. But I'm kind of with you. I feel like, we're at the time of the year where, oh, by the way, he's the defending champion here at Bellerive, or at the BMW. It was not played at Bellerive, but yeah, you're at the point in the year where like the cream is going to start rising to the top. And so you might see some of these guys squeak in that haven't won this season. I think we talked about like the Alex Smalleys and guys like that earlier off the air, but I tend to think you're going to want, like 4 or 5 guys that you feel like can win the event if you're passing on Scotty.
Any of those guys in the top six going to win then?
Well, sure. I mean, like I think, below Scotty, I think the win equity for all these guys is probably T2.
Even
You know?
Rory, who, I mean, played horribly last week at the FedEx.
Yeah, like he's an interesting case because he only played 14 times on the tour. You have to play 15 times to uh meet those new rules that have changed with signature events and things like that. So he actually needs a commissioner's exemption to retain his full-time card next year. Surely he'll get it because he's, their top ticket in terms of fandom. But you got to attribute that a little bit to just not playing that much golf this year, And so, coming in with a 67th or whatever it was last week, no bueno there. And then you go right down to Fleetwood, Burns, Schauffele, Oberg, Cameron Young. I mean, yeah, Fitzpatrick. I think all their win equity would probably be right behind those 2 top guys. So if you're saying I can get like 4 of those guys in a lineup versus Scotty, then I'll take those 4 guys with the opportunity to, have 4 tickets that can win.
Siwoo Kim, 4th right now in the FedEx standings and finished runner-up last week at the St. Jude. He's playing some very good golf right now, kept it down the middle. Hideki Matsuyama, who we've been calling it all year with Decky. He's going to make bogeys, but he's also going to answer with a lot of birdies. Got her up, pounds the ball. Can he keep it down the middle? Hovland. I don't know what to say about Victor, man. He is so up and down and so out there. I just it's a tough click to get on Hovland here, especially with the top 30. But he is in next week also. He is the 22nd man in that's guaranteed a spot next week. Wyndham Clark pounds the ball also. Morikawa seems to be a tough click, even though it could be a bounce back week. Something just doesn't seem right with Colin Morikawa. Any of those guys on your radar this week?
Yeah, Hideki's not a very long hitter. Some people think he is. He's below average in terms of distance off the tee, but he's a good long iron player. I mean, how do you argue those finishes? It's tough to argue. I tend to think that if you play Scheffler, your second click should be Siwoo. They're really tight buddies, play a lot of golf in Texas together, a lot of skins games. And I think that when they're in the hunt together, and Siwoo cares that Scotty can lift him up a little bit, they probably talk. They probably have dinner most nights at tournaments like that. So I would maybe pair Scheffler and Siwoo together for that reason alone. But yeah, I mean, right there, sandwiched in between Hideki and Morikawa. Hideki and Morikawa are very similar players. Distance off the tee, long iron play, putting, up and down. Goddard, Hovland, Wyndham, Clark. These guys mash it off the tee. And with no cut, they're three of the most electrifying players that can string a lot of birdies together if they're hitting good tee shots.
Speaking
So
of good friends of Scotty, Sam Burns might be his best friend on tour. We kind of blew through that top tier there. Do you like anything about Burns this week? Is it a bounce? I hate to even call it a bounce back week for him, but he really only played one exceptional round of golf this past weekend. He needs that win, man. I mean, what's going on with Burns? Do you like him at all? The 10-4 seems a little pricey for him.
my knock on him has been the same all year, even, and he's had a great year. It's like he just can't. He's just not a closer. Just can't really get it done. Can't get over the hump at some of these big spots. A guy that I was actually in Northern Michigan with this past weekend's sister-in-law is married to Sam Burns, and he said that he's a total goofball and just not that serious of a guy. Maybe that's part of the knock on him. 10-4. I mean, come on, that's an insane price for a guy that hasn't been in the winner's circle in quite a while. So no on Burns for me. I'm probably going to go right back to Cantlay,
Yeah.
down below there. And it's like, and I said this, I think, I don't know if I said it on the pod or if I said it off the air, but I called him to finish 12th. I was like, he's going to finish 12th. He's going to finish like between 9th and 12th. It's exactly where he came in. So, 8,500, 12th is probably good enough. A top 10 would be great. Now, he hasn't won on the PGA Tour since 2022, if you can believe that. So, in terms of win equity, pretty much zero until he proves he can do it again. But a guy that it seems pretty steady, doesn't get himself into much trouble, just kind of plods along there. So I could see Cantlay. I think that's a discounted price. Like if you're telling me he's $2,000 less than Burns, come on.
Yeah, I like Cantlay in that spot. The guy I like maybe even more below him, I'm looking for a bounce back week from Russell Henley, another guy that doesn't hit it very long, but is going to put it down the middle. Good iron player. If he can roll some putts, I mean, it comes down to the putter, obviously, for a lot of these guys. If he can roll some putts on this bent grass, though, Russell at 84, is it a little pricey for him? I don't know. What do you think about that, Wild Man?
Yeah, he's right there with Matsuyama and Morikawa, right? Is he too pricey? No, I don't think so. I mean, he plays well at courses like Augusta that are long courses and Arnold Palmer, which are difficult, courses. Again, if it's like if he's hitting it off the tee, good, and he can. I mean, he missed what 9 out of 10 10-footers to win the Masters. He needed like 3 out of 10 to win it. So, a guy that if he putted a little bit better, I think you'd have a different take on him this season. But man, I'll tell you another guy. I mean, he's got 16 registered starts that I can see right now. I believe 14 of them are either top 12 or missed cut. And it's Jake Knapp,
Yeah.
the modern day Freddie Couples. So 8,200, he bombs it off the tee, and his best is really darn good. I mean, like I said, 90% of his results, he's either MC'd or he's like in contention. So he's a guy to look at down there too.
Just makes a ton of birdies. Jake Knapp does too, and he streaks them together. He strings them together, which is obviously bonus
And guess
points.
what? You can't miss the cut this week. So he's not missing the cut. That probably means he's gonna, top 7 or 8 this thing.
That's right. Tom Kim, Maverick McNeely, I think could have a good week this week. 8,000 might be a little pricey for him. Kitayama, who was so inconsistent last week, up and down, played 2 really good rounds, 2 pretty poor rounds. Gerard, Robert McIntyre has good history here, actually, at the BMW. I think he runnered up last year to Scotty Scheffler, but he had to drop out. We're not sure if it's an injury or just because he shot about 90 in the first round of
Mhm.
FedEx, and then JJ Spawn at 76. I feel like Thor Bjornsson is right below that too at 75, and then Fowler at 74. I mean, if you're gonna go for a balanced build, you're gonna have to have a couple of these guys in the mid range here.
Mhm.
If you only had two to pick out of this mid range, who do you like, Wildman?
Well, I'll start with saying this too. I didn't say this in the course preview, but the PGA Tour has not played Bellerive since the 2008 PGA Championship, um, or 2018 PGA Championship. It hasn't played an actual tour event here since 2008. So if you're looking back at course history, BMW course history, it's been bouncing around the last decade or so. Uh, yeah, I would probably I mean the McIntyre thing is an issue, right? You got to Google it before you click him. Did he withdraw because of a back or a neck or something like that? I mean, he did shoot 82, but I mean, he doesn't strike me as a guy that would quit. Uh, because I mean, points are still points
He
for a
was
guy like
guaranteed to be in the top 30 though, as of last week. Also,
in the top 30.
top 50. I'm sorry, the top 50. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, he might be a gut fringe type of guy, trying to get into the top 30 here. Um, I'd be a little concerned about that. I hate to drop down below all these guys you just mentioned, but I want to go to the big Aussie. We're talking smooth swings. Adam Scott, 2008 Bellerive PGA Championship solo leader after 54 holes. Came in as a runner-up or third place, I think. So he's seen it here. It seems like he's the only guy that has course history of places like this, right? Because he's been playing for 25 years and rarely misses big time starts. So yeah, I mean, and then you gotta consider Brennan and Minwoo Lee as well. They're bombers off the tee and obviously can be elite when they're hitting it down the middle.
Yeah, Brennan's an interesting one. He's good strokes gained off the tee, which is one of the big statistics that you're looking for this week. Adam Scott, again, I mean, he's going to make bogeys, but he's going to follow them up with birdies. And he has a higher potential, I feel like, to go low than he does to eject, which we see some of these guys sometimes do. I think another really interesting tier is there in that Adam Scott range because you've got Sung Jae, who played well last week, kind of faded towards the end, actually played a terrible last round. Noren is playing really good golf right now. Finished in third place, I believe, maybe a tie for fourth when it was all said and done. You got Griffin, Bridgman, whose salary just is not matching up to me right now to where he ranks in the FedEx standings. He's ranked 12th out of 50 right now in the FedEx standings. He's sitting there pretty comfortably, and he seemed to have a quiet season. And then two guys you mentioned earlier, I don't know if you mentioned Rose, but Rose is a really interesting play here because he's always capable of going low, and he's got a lot of course history. I'm sure he's been around the block here a couple times. And then Smalley. And Smalley's going to be fighting for a spot in the top 30. I think he's maybe 22nd or 23rd in the standings right now. So, again, if you're looking for guys sub 7,000, and you might have to have a couple of those if you're throwing Scotty in, boy, there's a lot to choose from down here, Wildman.
Yeah, these are going to match up with the Scotty click, right? Uh, I don't envision a ton of scenarios where you have to play more than one or two of these guys. So you are going to have to be pretty selective. I mean, in that case, we keep talking about win equity today. Justin Rose obviously has it, had a final round 64 on Sunday. And again, a guy that like we've seen make 10 birdies in a round recently, which is a heck of a round in a no-cut event. I mean, that's really how you're going to separate yourself with only 50 guys, right? Like there might only be, the winner might get out to something like Scheffler shot last week. There's a really good chance that like 5th and 40th are 166, on Sunday in differential. So yeah, you want the guys that sort of can fill it up. Noren's more of a. I mean, I swear I've said this on our podcast maybe 10 times. Noren was once a top 10 golfer in the world. I mean, guy can play.
I was about to say, is this the same Noren that's been playing for all these years?
You're looking at this whole list and you're like, where has this guy been?
Yeah, I thought it might be his son. I thought it might be his son, actually.
No, it's him.
Not the original Noren, but
it's him.
I'll tell you what,
It's him, and look, he's getting hot at the right time.
yeah, that's
You
right.
know?
Trending up. We love trends on the
Yeah.
program here. What do you think about
Yeah.
Bridgman? Is he kind of a smoke and mirrors guy? I mean, 12th place in the FedEx standings and to have a salary
Yeah.
sub 7,000, that's pretty interesting.
I mean, he's a winner on the tour this year, and he was a really bad hook tee shot into the Pacific away from winning, or not the Pacific, into the water at the Players. Almost won that event. So he's been there, but I would say his biggest strength is his putting, and that's just not going to bail you out on some of these long courses. Like, you know, as good as he is at putting, like you're still going to have all those looks from 10, 15 feet. And that's going to be really hard to do as a shorter hitter. Where, like, as I said, I mean, like, who knows what Scheffler can go out and shoot, or like one other random can shoot. Maybe they can get it to 15 under or something like that. But I think the majority of these players are going to be around like 5 over to 5 under when it's all said and done. And like, you know, it's going to play difficult. This is a very long course. So I
Somebody
would leave Rose over Bridgman.
somebody that does not hit it short is our Rogue Warrior of the Week at a
Right.
juicy $6,600. Give it to us, Wild Man.
Yeah, he's first in swing speed. He's right there with Aldrich Potgeider for the lead in like total driving distance, all those things. Not very accurate, but again, we'll gamble on it this week that he can get it out there pretty darn far. I think I've mentioned this before, but he won the 2019 U.S. Open and had some mental health issues that were attributed to a brain lesion that he had. He had brain surgery, dealt with PTSD. He's now getting over that. He's battling it. He's on the proper medications. They've diagnosed him properly. He is back with a vengeance. He's in the final 50. He's a multi-time winner on the PGA Tour. He's a winner of a major. Gary Woodland, Scary Gary, 6,600. I love it. He also, I said Adam Scott was a solo leader. Gary had the 36-hole lead at Belle Reve in 2018.
That's good information to know right there. He's got course history. Played pretty, had a couple above average rounds at the St. Jude this week, and then had a couple below average rounds as well.
Yeah, good
Uh,
player from over 200 as well. I think he's seventh on the tour over 200.
I'm going to go with my heart here. Three guys. You probably won't have much input on these three guys here. Can you?
I can already name them, I'm
I'll
sure.
tell you what. You can. I'll let you name. You're not going to know the third guy, but I'll let you. I'll give you two guesses to try to name the first two.
I'm going to say it's Rayton and Alex Fitzpatrick, obviously.
Those are definitely two of them.
Yeah.
And then the guy that's starting to weasel his way into my heart is a guy named Bud Cauley. And Cauley has been making a lot of bogeys and hasn't really been tearing up the scorecard, the leaderboard, but he is making a ton of birdies too and hitting some really nice iron shots and also putting fairly well right now. So Bud Cauley, I kind of like. I like Raytan this week. He actually played very, very average, and it wouldn't surprise me if he plays average again this week. But the thing I like about Raytan is, again, his salary is just not matching up to his world ranking. His world ranking's 20th right now, and his salary's all the way near the bottom. And then let's run it back one more time with Alex Fitzpatrick. Again, I don't know. I think we've seen enough of Fitzpatrick to absolutely say that he deserves to be on the PGA Tour, but I also think we've seen enough to know that he isn't quite the elite level. But in a no-cut event where the guy can make birdies and string together a few, Alex Fitzpatrick's a guy I'm playing in my heart. Any of those guys moving the needle for you at all this week, Wildman?
Not Fitzpatrick. But Rayton and Cauley, I mean, look, Cauley won the RBC Canadian. That is a bomber's course. Johnny Vegas wins there. Rory wins there. Those guys are heavy hitters. Cauley won it this year. So, thinking about the fact that you're going to want to be long off the tee, yeah, I could see Cauley. And again, we talked about how much danger there was last week at Southwind off the tee. He came in with a nice finish. So 6,800 or 66, sorry.
66.
I'd probably lean him over Rayton a little bit just because of recent form. But
I'll tell you,
yeah, Rayton, I mean,
you could get them both in if you're
Yeah.
playing a Scotty lineup. I mean, that's the real thing. If you're playing a Scotty lineup, you're going to have guys. I think you're going to have three guys in there sub 68. So those are important guys this week. And you might want to think about where they stand in terms of the top 50 as well. What guys are really playing for something this week versus guys? Because, I mean, look at Rory McIlroy, for example. I mean, he straight up took the weekend off last weekend, just trying to work
Yeah.
things out, it looked like, on the golf course because he knew he was in. Will Hovland do something like that this week? Will some of the guys that maybe had putting problems this past weekend do that if they're already secured in that top 22? So that's something to think about. Do you have any prop drops for us, Wildman?
I think in like when you're clicking, when you're submitting your lineup this week, if you're going with Scheffler, you really want to pair him with birdie makers, guys that like forget where they finish. Birdie or better percentage is probably a perfect stat to match with Scheffler. Because like you don't want a guy like you don't want like the Aaron Rise, the guys that I would define as like the par makers. And it's not gonna be enough. Finishing
Yeah.
position is not gonna outweigh
We need
making
guys
16.
that are going to play aggressive every day,
Yeah,
every
like
hole, every shot.
making 10 extra birdies, even if you finish 5 spots below another guy, is going to matter a lot in terms of
Right.
DK scoring.
Yep.
Um, yeah, the prop drop, it's tough with only 50 guys. Like the regional bets aren't very good. And I mean, like if Scheffler didn't win by 8, I maybe would like playoff this week. But I don't have much in the prop drop world today. I'm going to kind of wait for some of these birdie numbers to come out and probably bet on some guys that I think can make a lot of birdies, which would be like the Justin Roses and those kinds of guys.
Yeah, the PGA Tour coverage this week on the app was pretty darn good. I'll give them credit. They get those guys that go out first thing immediately on the app, and then they largely get forgotten about unless they're burning it up once the featured groups go out. But I heard the term drip line this week, and I heard the term mere mortal used more times this week than I ever have. These guys latch onto a phrase, man, and they just beat it to death. Aiming at the drip line, made it to the drip line. He's going to just try to cut it right off the drip line. I get it, guys. It's a cute word. The first few times he used it, it was nice. Now let's move on to something else. He's taking it off the tree. He's aiming for the edge of the tree line. Any one of those things. And then the mere mortal. Every time you see a clip of Scotty Scheffler right now, mere mortals like us would not be able to make that shot. If you were a mere mortal, that would be a difficult shot, but not for Scotty. I mean, I can appreciate how difficult it is to probably call those things, but you got to come up with a fresh phrase, guys. You got to come up with a fresh phrase.
Mere mortal is ridiculous. Drip line, I've never heard that actually.
Well, that's why it was so unique this week. Like one of these announcers said it the first time, and they latched onto it. And we're just like, every time that we talk about a tree line, call it the drip line of the tree now.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
that's what it feel like it felt.
You're like in, pro broadcasting, if you will. Obviously, you've been, on the radio waves for many, many years. Like, are they getting something in like a pre-production meeting that like has that in a bullet point?
I don't think that where they're like use the term drip line and use the term mere mortal when talking about Scotty. I think these guys are just like, I think these guys are unoriginal old golfers that just hear something. It's like your grandpa, your dad. They hear something and all of a sudden it just becomes their phrase, and that seems to happen.
Yeah.
It definitely happened this weekend. It seems to happen every so often. You were up in Michigan this week at a lake with 7 of your high school buddies. I don't want to say debauchery. You guys are all in your 40s, late 30s and early 40s. But what was on a scale from 1 to 10, when you got off the plane in St. Pete, what was your level of post-alcohol depression from spending that kind of weekend up there?
It wasn't, I'll tell you what. Okay, so Sunday, flew out of Detroit, which is about a 2.5 hour drive south. But my flight was at 6:45 with another buddy, Zach. And the guy who drove us down, Sean, his flight was about 2.5, 3 hours earlier than ours. And Detroit, for those of you who have ever flown into to Detroit, the terminals are not just different wings; they're in different like parcels. So I actually had to take a 5-minute Uber from his terminal over to mine. Okay, like an actual Uber, leave the property, enter mine. So the reason I say that, we wanted to hang out, have a few cocktails while we're waiting for the flights. We figured we can't do that. So Sean dropped us off at a local Applebee's about 15 miles down the road. And it got a little loose in there. The tab was over 200 for the two of us. And so my post-alcohol depression didn't actually set in until Monday. I actually don't remember flying home to St. Pete. I made it, obviously.
There
I was
are
on a Delta Airlines.
few things that rival bellying up at an Applebee's for just a drinking
Yeah,
session. They've got some great cocktails. They'll mix you up shots, chilled if you want them. Great selection of draft beer. Applebee's,
yeah.
a bar stool at Applebee's. There's worse places you could be
Well,
before
here's
you take
another
a flight.
here's another anecdote. Zach kind of set the tone, ordered a double tequila and soda when we got there, and those just kept coming. So, I got onto some Long Islands, some John Daly's, which were a big drink for us this weekend. And I forgot that I had made a bet with Sean, uh, and I owed him. He offered to relieve my gambling debt if I did a double shot of booze at his disposal at any point throughout the weekend. Okay. So of course I took it. Like, yeah, okay. It was a couple $100 debt. Yeah, I'm in. And as soon as we get to Applebee's, he drops us off. I see him pull out of the parking lot. He makes the right onto the main road. And the text comes in. Go ahead, Buns. You're up. Let's see it. So I had to take a video shot sitting in there. And I mean, it was not easy. I did Crown Apple, and you would have thought it came out of the microwave. It was so warm.
When I thought Applebee's, for some reason, I'm just like, I remember drinking Washington apples at Applebee's. That's what I was thinking
Yeah,
about.
that could be. That could be.
Washington apples is more of like a mixed shot. I'll tell you the most peculiar thing that happened to Wildman over the weekend. This is before the weekend even started. The guy that he met in Detroit, they're getting picked up by a third guy. So this third guy's coming to pick up Wildman and his buddy. And his buddy's like, hey, listen, I'm seriously considering renting my own car right now. And we never got a reason as to why he made that comment, but it was either because he hated the guy that was picking him up.
That wasn't it.
He didn't trust the guy that was picking him up. Or he was just like, look, I'm going into a weekend that I don't know if I can handle, and I need wheels so I can get the hell out of here at any moment that I possibly need to get out of here. It was one of those three things. But that was an interesting part of your story that you told me earlier, that Zach would rent a car, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, he might be listening to the cast. I'm not going to throw him totally under the bus. But yeah, I would say it was a mixture of 2 and 3, which is why he was thinking about doing that. But
anybody that knows me, dude, I drive myself everywhere because I'm one of those guys that's like, look, I am getting out of here if I feel like I need to get out of here, man. At any moment, it could be at any time. If I'm not enjoying myself or I feel anxious, I'm getting out of here. Real quick, before we go ahead, Wild Man.
Shout out to Connor. He old next door neighbor of ours. He was the kicker in the 13-9 game against West Virginia. He played for Pitt, and outplayed McAfee and cost West Virginia the season. It's
always gotta hate. Always gotta hate on people. I mean, you're giving a little love to Connor for sure, who we love so much, but throwing a little hate at McAfee. Hey, Live Golf folded up shop, by the way. They're not going to play their season finale. This will be it this weekend. Is that the end of Live Golf? Will we ever see them again, Wildman? And what happens to DeChambeau and Rahm now? And Cam Smith? I mean, there's still some great golfers under contract. Who cares
I've heard
about Bubba Watson?
I mean, Bubba Watson, senior tour, right? He's got to be close to 50. DeChambeau, or pardon me, John Rahm is in negotiations for a return to the PGA Tour, similar to Brooks Koepka's return. He's not going to be in the signature events. He's going to have to qualify himself into those. He has to pay a $25 million fine. I have heard that they're working on Tyrrell Hatton's return to the PGA Tour. DeChambeau, I mean, you got to bring him up.
No, I
He'll,
mean, but he's
he'll
a tough
probably
case. He's a tough case. A lot
oh,
of eyeballs on DeChambeau,
the,
man.
the the toughest part about him is that his own ego will probably make him drag it out on his end. That if you really want me, you better open the door and let me in, kind of thing. And I will tell you, there hasn't been a tournament in my lifetime where I was like, this would be so much better with Bryson DeChambeau. Now, it might be better with the whole lot of guys returning, but one guy doesn't mean anything.
I'll tell you what, I like Terrell Hatton. He's one of my favorite live golf guys. We'd love to have him back on the tour. I'd love to watch more of him win and bet on him. He's a guy I like to bet on. It'd
Yeah.
be cool to have him back on there. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up, Wildman?
Yeah, I'm going to give you one prop drop. It's 262 and a half as the winning score. I'm going to take over 262 and a half. That seems like a really low score, 17 under at a course this long and difficult. If Scotty doesn't get there, I don't think anybody's getting to 17. So
I think when Koepka won in 2018, it was 16 under par though, so it
yeah,
is possible out there.
yeah, give me over 262 and a half. And in full disclosure, I'm probably at like a human being battery life of like 72% right now. And I'm about to jump in an Uber to pub trivia. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, listen, as we sign off here, just want to say thanks so much for listening. It has been, we're coming down the home stretch of the golf season, and we're actually going to reformat the show a little bit and talk a lot of DFS football in the months ahead. But it has really just been such a blast to talk golf and engage with the golf community and engage with my brothers. And, we've had some big hits, and at times we've provided some reliably, reasonably accurate information. And it's just been a friggin' privilege, man. It really has. I never feel like I have to do this show. There were, in the years before when we were originally doing the Bones DK, there were some days where I'd be like, oh man, I got to go down and do this hour radio with these guys. But I never feel like I have to do this show. I never feel like I have to go out and grow an audience or establish an audience, but it's like I get to do those things. You know what I mean? I get to go out and do this podcast, and I get to go out and try to entertain people and share that information with them. And I think that perspective of getting to do things rather than having to do things, that matters. Not just on this golf cast, but in all walks of life. So I'm very, very thankful. And from the bottom of my heart, it's full that you guys have been listening to the show. For TW Man, my name is Edge. As always, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, good luck this week in St. Louis. Let's get one, boys.